Usually when we look at the Sunday sports highlights, we see the spectacular one-handed catches, the roaring stadiums, and those little graphics at the bottom of the screen flashing massive, mind-boggling contract numbers.
Oh, absolutely. The 100 million here, 50 million there.
Right. It all looks like the ultimate dream job. You get drafted, you put on the hat, you shed a tear with your family, and you get handed a golden ticket to just, play a game you love.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, it looks like pure glamour. It's presented to you as this unending stream of success, instant wealth, and total financial security for you and your family.
But then you step off the turf, the stadium lights turn off, and you walk into the boardroom. So today, we're moving past those flashy headlines and the confetti. We really want to show you exactly what a player signs away to get that money.
Which is a lot more than you might think.
Oh, it's staggering. So in this deep dive, our mission is to peel back the curtain on the actual business of professional sports. We are examining two incredibly revealing documents from our sources. First, the standard blank NFL player contract, and second, the actual signed 2013 to 2016 employment contract of Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Terrence Williams.
Right, and having the actual signed document is rare, so it's a fantastic source.
Exactly. Now, for the sake of our discussion, we're going to use a hypothetical player stepping into those exact shoes. We'll call him David Smith, acting as our substitute for Williams, just so we can really put ourselves in the cleats of a newly drafted rookie facing this exact paperwork.
That makes sense. It helps ground all this heavy legal text.
And let me tell you, it's an exploration of extreme employment terms that will make your own company's HR guidelines look like absolute child's play. I mean, I was reading through this, and okay, let's unpack this. Because going from the sheer joy of a touchdown dance to the dense, unforgiving legal reality of this paperwork gave me absolute whiplash.
I can imagine. It is quite the transition, to put it mildly. What we're really looking at here is the ultimate power dynamic. These sources reveal a perfectly engineered, airtight legal framework between a billionaire organization and a highly specialized, yet highly vulnerable employee.
Variable.
Right. When you strip away the team logos and the fan loyalty, what you have is a masterpiece of corporate leverage.
Yeah, and I want to start with what everyone cares about first, which is the compensation. But as the sources reveal, it's not just a single giant check handed over in a silver briefcase.
Not at all.
We're looking at a 4-year term for our stand-in, David Smith, running from March 1st, 2013 to February 2017. And the yearly salaries naturally escalate, right? So it's $288,000 in 2013, then $520,000 in 2014, $615,000 in 2015, and finally $707,500 in 2016, which on the surface sounds fantastic.
It sounds like a great trajectory.
But then I got to the signing bonus addendum. The team agreed to pay him a signing bonus of $619,472 payable on or before July 18th, 2014. Now, I had to read that twice.
The numbers are a bit jarring at first glance.
Yeah. The base salary for his entire first year is $288,000, but the signing bonus is over $600,000. Why on earth is it structured this way? I mean, if I got a new corporate job paying me $100,000 a year, I certainly wouldn't expect a $200,000 signing bonus before I even started.
Well, the structure is everything in these deals, and to understand why it's built that way, we have to look at how NFL money is actually dispersed.
Yeah.
That signing bonus is guaranteed money.
Okay.
It is contingent only upon the player passing the club's physical examination. It is paid out entirely separate from the week-to-week salary. Base salaries, on the other hand, are paid in equal weekly or biweekly installments over the course of the regular season, commencing with the first game.
Wait. So you only get that $288,000 if you're actually on the active roster week by week during the season.
Exactly. If a player is cut in training camp in August, or say released midway through the season in October, they get to keep that signing bonus because it was guaranteed up front.
Oh, wow.
But they lose all that future unearned base salary. The team owes them absolutely nothing more. This introduces a crucial concept you really have to grasp when you see these sports headlines. The quote-unquote total value of an NFL contract is often a complete illusion.
Because they might never see the back half of it.
Exactly. The media might report it as a $20 million deal, but the only number that truly matters, the only money the player can actually count on, is the guaranteed money.
That makes the base salary almost look like an hourly wage, just on a massive scale. If you don't punch the time clock on Sunday afternoon, you don't get the check.
Precisely. The contract specifically notes that the compensation listed is what the club will pay if the player is on the club's active or inactive list. If you aren't on the list, the payments stop immediately.
Which brings us to a rather terrifying realization. I mean, if that base salary is essentially an hourly wage dependent on your physical availability week to week, how much control does the team demand over your physical body to protect their investment?
A lot. A legally astonishing amount.
Right. I was reading paragraph 8, which covers physical condition, and it states the player must maintain themselves in, quote, excellent physical condition. But the massive catch is it's to the satisfaction of the club's physician, not an independent, neutral doctor,
Right.
not the player's personal trusted family doctor, the employer's doctor.
Yes, the employer essentially holds the ultimate medical authority. And think about the inherent conflict of interest there.
It's huge.
The doctor evaluating your fitness is paid by the same people who pay your salary. If you fail to maintain that condition to their exclusive satisfaction, or if you fail to make full disclosure of any physical or mental condition, the club can simply terminate the contract and walk away.
And what happens if you actually get hurt doing the job? Let's say you're making that spectacular diving catch over the middle. You take a massive hit and your knee is just shattered.
Well, paragraph 9 covers injuries.
Yeah, and it says if you are injured performing your services, you continue to receive your yearly salary, but, and this is a staggering caveat, only for the season of injury.
What's fascinating here is the absolute limitation of liability for the employer. If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about the unique risk profile of this profession. Your entire financial future, your ability to provide for your family hinges on avoiding one bad step, one awkward tackle on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, one freak accident.
Right.
Yeah.
If you suffer a career-ending injury in week 2 of year 1 of a 4-year deal, the team only owes you the remainder of that first year's salary.
That's it.
That's it. Years 2, 3, and 4. Erased. Voided completely. Your employer only insures your physical destruction for a few short months.
That is just ruthless. I mean, and to protect their fragile investment for those few months, they restrict literally everything else you do in your daily life.
Oh yeah, the outside activities clause.
Paragraph 3, it covers other activities, and it explicitly says the player cannot engage in any activity other than football, which involves a, quote, significant risk of personal injury without prior written consent from the team.
They want you in a bubble.
Literally.
Yeah.
Imagine your boss at an accounting firm telling you that you can't go skiing on the weekend, or ride a motorcycle, or even play in a pickup basketball game at the local gym because your physical body essentially belongs to the company.
It's a level of control that goes far beyond any standard employment agreement. The contract justifies this extreme overreach by stating the player represents they have, quote, special, exceptional, and unique knowledge, skill, ability, and experience.
So you're too special to be allowed to ski.
Exactly. The loss of which, it argues legally, cannot be estimated or compensated by normal damages. Therefore, the team can legally enjoin the player from engaging in these risky activities. They aren't treating you like an employee in a cubicle. They are legally treating your human body as irreplaceable, highly fragile capital equipment.
Capital equipment. That's exactly how it reads. You are a piece of heavy machinery they are leasing.
That's a very accurate way to put it.
So the team strictly controls what you do with your physical body to protect their investment. But as I kept reading, I noticed in paragraph 4 that they also take total control of your identity. It's not just the physical body, it's the mental persona, the brand.
Yes, the monetization of the player's image.
Right. Paragraph 4A requires the player to grant the club and the league the right to use their name, nickname, likeness, image, voice, and even biographical information for any purpose that provokes the NFL.
And they can use it pretty much however they want.
Yeah, and it specifically mentions behind-the-scenes programming, shows like Inside the NFL and Hard Knocks. The team can just shove a television camera in your face while you're getting taped up in the locker room or while you're agonizing over an injury, and you have already signed away the rights to that footage.
And you don't get paid extra for that.
Exactly. You don't get a dime extra in royalties for being the star of their reality show.
Completely zero additional compensation. And that right extends beyond the term of the agreement as long as the footage was captured during the term. But the corporate machinery gets even more complex when you look at paragraph 4B, which deals with the NFLPA group licensing program.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The player assigns exclusive rights to the Players Association to use their image and persona when 5 or more players are involved. They call it the group licensing program, or the Rule of Six.
Right, the rule of six.
If I understand this right, it's basically like a corporate stock photo database. Let's say a major sponsor wants to market David Smith completely solo on a giant billboard in Dallas. Smith controls that. He can negotiate his own personal endorsement deal and keep the cash.
Right.
But if the sponsor puts Smith on a T-shirt or inside a video game alongside 5 other guys from different teams, the NFLPA holds the keys, makes the deal, and distributes the money.
That is an excellent analogy. The stock photo database perfectly captures the dynamic. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the NFL isn't just buying David Smith, the athlete who runs routes and catches footballs.
Yeah.
They are acquiring David Smith, the intellectual property. By grouping the players together, they are securing the raw materials needed for a multi-billion-dollar media, apparel, and merchandising empire. They're commoditizing the collective identity of the workforce.
And the player has to actively work for that empire, too.
Yeah.
It's not passive. The contract states the player agrees to participate in reasonable activities to promote the NFLPA, including up to 3 personal appearances a year or up to 15 minutes a week dedicated to promoting them without any additional compensation.
Yeah, it's baked into the job.
It's essentially mandatory corporate volunteering.
True, but there is a very careful legal distinction made in paragraph 4A that is vital for the player's individual financial independence.
What's that?
It explicitly states that this grand licensing of rights does not constitute a personal endorsement by the player of a third-party product.
Oh, interesting.
So if the NFL is sponsored by a specific brand of truck and they use footage of the player catching a pass in a national truck commercial, the contract legally separates the player from personally endorsing that specific vehicle.
Okay, I see.
This protects the player's ability to go out on their own time and secure a highly lucrative solo endorsement deal with a competing car company.
Okay, so they own you in a group, but you still own yourself individually. That's a very tight legal needle to thread.
Very tight.
But speaking of owning yourself, let's talk about job security, or the complete and utter lack thereof. Because we've established that the player gives up control of their body, their weekends, and their brand for a specific non-guaranteed dollar amount.
Right.
So if you were to sign this, could you expect the same basic job security you have at your current office job?
In short, absolutely not. The documents reveal that this is the ultimate at-will employment scenario, amplified to an extreme degree.
The illusion of job security. I mean, paragraph 11 covers skill, performance, and conduct. It says the team can terminate the contract if, in their sole judgment, the player's skill or performance has been, quote, unsatisfactory compared with other players.
It's totally subjective.
Yeah. Your boss can just evaluate you on a Tuesday and say, you know what, the new guy we drafted in the 5th round is slightly faster than you. You're fired. But the second part of that paragraph is what really dropped my jaw. They can terminate the contract simply to make room under the salary cap for another player.
Just for accounting purposes, this raises an important question for you to consider. What is a contract, fundamentally, if one side can void it just because they found someone cheaper, or simply because their own accounting department needs the cap space to balance a spreadsheet?
It doesn't sound like much of a contract at all.
This NFL template heavily favors management. Unlike guaranteed contracts in some other major sports, like baseball, for example.
Right, baseball is fully guaranteed.
Exactly. A 4-year deal generally means you get paid for 4 years regardless of a slump in performance. But this document provides the team a legally bulletproof escape hatch at almost any moment.
And the conduct clause in paragraph 15, integrity of game, is incredibly broad. You could be fined, suspended, or terminated if you associate with gamblers, bet on an NFL game, take bribes, or really do anything the commissioner judges to be detrimental to the league.
Which is a very wide net.
Now, I get why that exists to protect the sport from corruption, but the commissioner has sole discretion. There's no jury of your peers.
None.
But if we're talking about a lack of autonomy, we really have to talk about paragraph 17, assignment.
Ah, yes, the trade clause.
Yes, it says the club can assign this contract to any successor or any other club in the league, and the player must report, quote, promptly.
Promptly means immediately.
Right. Imagine showing up to your office in Texas on a Tuesday morning, grabbing a coffee, and HR pulls you aside and tells you that as of this exact second, you now work for a direct competitor in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And you just have to go.
You have to move immediately,
Yeah.
sell your house, uproot your kids from their school, and you have absolutely zero say in the matter.
It perfectly highlights the unique, somewhat jarring nature of the collective bargaining agreement that oversees these contracts. In a normal free market, you choose your employer.
Yeah.
You interview, you accept an offer, you negotiate where you live. Here, your employment contract is treated as a tradable financial asset between franchises.
Wow.
You are not just an employee, you are quite literally a commodity that can be shipped across the country at a moment's notice to balance a roster or acquire a draft pick.
It's just wild to think about applying these rules to a normal desk job. Hey, Jim, great work on the quarterly report. We just traded you to a firm in Ohio for a new copy machine.
It sounds absurd when you put it that way, but that's the reality.
Knowing that job security is virtually non-existent and you can be cut or traded at any moment, let's look at the highly specific behavioral hoops our stand-in David Smith had to jump through just to squeeze every single dime out of this deal.
Okay.
Because if the base salary isn't guaranteed, you have to hit your bonuses to survive.
Which brings us to the addendums, the fine print attached to the back of the contract, where the real day-to-day behavioral control is exerted by the team.
Right. There's a specific addendum for off-season workout bonuses covering 2014 to 2016. Smith could earn an extra $10,000 a year, maxing out at $30,000 over the life of the contract.
Which isn't a ton of money in NFL terms.
No, but the conditions are incredibly rigid. To get that 10 grand, he had to complete exactly 90.00% or more of the club's scheduled workouts. Not 89%, 90.00%. And the contract explicitly states that the workout schedule and the successful completion of those workouts is determined solely by the club's strength coach.
That decimal point is definitely not a typo. 2 decimal places. 90.00% leaves absolutely no room for rounding up. It is a strict mathematical threshold designed to be unforgiving.
So what does this all mean in reality? It means your boss's strength coach is basically your timekeeper, your judge, and your jury. Let's say you hit 89.5% because you miss a couple of gym sessions in the offseason.
We're out of luck.
Yeah. Maybe your flight was delayed returning to Dallas, or you had a legitimate family emergency. Too bad. It literally cost you $10,000. And to get that bonus, you also have to attend all mini camps, all training camps, and not be suspended or incarcerated at any point.
There are just so many ways to avoid it.
Oh, and another addendum requires up to 5 promotional or charitable appearances per year specifically for the Cowboys, which includes sitting at a table and signing autographs for free.
It ensures that the player remains tethered to the team's facility and the team's brand year-round.
Right.
Even when they aren't technically in season and aren't receiving those weekly-based salary checks, they are still fundamentally under the control of the organization. But perhaps the most strategically brilliant and honestly quietly brutal piece of fine print in this entire document is the workers' compensation addendum.
Yes. Let's look at that because it blew my mind. It states that jurisdiction of all workers' compensation claims shall be exclusively determined by the internal laws of the state of Texas, and that venue is exclusively locked to Dallas County.
Yeah.
Why would a team go out of their way to add a highly specific legal addendum just for that? Like, why Dallas County specifically?
Because it is an absolute masterclass in corporate risk mitigation. Workers' compensation laws vary wildly from state to state in the U.S.
Okay.
Some states, like California, for example, are historically very favorable to employees seeking damages for long-term injuries or cumulative trauma accumulated over a career.
Gotcha.
Texas, historically, is known for having very employer-friendly labor laws with strict limits on payouts. By locking the jurisdiction to Texas, and specifically to their own backyard in Dallas County, the Cowboys protect themselves immensely.
That is so calculated.
Think about it. An NFL player travels constantly. If David Smith suffered a severe career-altering injury while playing a road game in a state with highly favorable labor laws, this clause legally prevents him from filing his workers' comp claim in that state.
Oh, wow.
It forces the dispute, no matter where the injury actually occurred on the field, back to the employer's home turf under rules that heavily favor the employer.
Wow. So they aren't just controlling where you play or what you endorse or how often you lift weights in the offseason. They are preemptively controlling the very legal battlefield where you might have to fight them for your medical future 10 years down the line.
Exactly. It completely neutralizes the geographic risk of operating a traveling sports team. They've ring-fenced their liability.
That is just, it's heavy.
It really is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's safe to say we've seen that an NFL contract, like the one Terrence Williams signed, and our stand-in David Smith walked us through, is so much more than a big number flashing on a TV screen. It is a masterpiece of corporate risk mitigation.
Without a doubt.
It dangles these massive, life-changing numbers in front of a young, eager athlete, but wraps that employee in an invisible web of physical constraints, brand capture, and at-will termination clauses.
It is a highly conditional promise of wealth, and that promise is deeply insulated by layers upon layers of legal protection designed solely to protect the franchise's bottom line.
So for you listening, the next time you're watching a game or checking your fantasy football app and you hear a commentator complaining about a player holding out in training camp, demanding more guaranteed money or a restructured deal, you will now understand exactly why.
It adds a whole new perspective.
It really does. It's incredibly easy to call it greed from the comfort of the couch.
Yeah.
But when you look at the actual paperwork, it's survival.
Yeah.
It's a player trying to secure their future against a contract entirely designed to replace them, discard them if they get hurt, or cut them just to save a few bucks on a spreadsheet at a moment's notice.
Which brings us to a final paradox to consider.
Okay.
Well, we spent a lot of time on paragraph 11 exploring how teams can void a contract if a player's skills diminish or simply to save salary cap space. The employer has the absolute right to terminate the agreement for underperformance.
Right.
But think about the reverse scenario. What if a player suddenly vastly outperforms their contract? Say a player drafted late signs a minimum deal, and in year 2, they become the absolute best player in the entire league.
Which happens.
It does. But there's no legal mechanism anywhere in this document for the player to force a raise or terminate the deal to seek fair market value.
Wow.
In a system where the employer can terminate the relationship for underperformance, but the employee cannot terminate it for overperformance, is the very concept of a mutually binding contract just a convenient legal fiction?